I've already posted a video about this movie and my affection for it and the reasons for that affection. But I always felt as a whole that video missed certain elements that I wanted to talk about. Some of those elements were never filmed, others were cut for time, as I always wanted to keep these videos under 10 minutes. And 10 minutes of me pontificating about my childhood obsessions are more than anyone should be forced to endure. And for those of you who do, family, friends, and subscribers, my thanks as always. And for those of you who are new in town, welcome. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. I have to say that every once in a while. I know most YouTubers say it every time they post, but for me it interferes with the narrative flow. Now, if you don't like what you see, hit that subscribe button anyway, and we can talk about it later. So why am I posting a video about a movie that's over 50 years old? Because I am over 50 years old. In fact, considerably older than that. But be warned, this is a journey to Nerdland, so get your passports ready. And let me state up front that You Only Live Twice is not the best Bond movie, nor is it my favorite Bond movie. And yet, here we are, again. During the big spy craze of the 60s, I saw all the movies, and I read all the books. And I'm not just talking about James Bond. I'm talking about all the other spy movies, from The Spy Who Came In From the Cold to Carry On Spying. I'm talking about all the spy TV shows, from The Prisoner to Get Smart. Most spy guys are familiar with Matt Helm because of the four Dean Martin movies, but the books by Donald Hamilton are much better with a tougher, leaner character that, on the Fawcett paperbacks at least, bears a striking resemblance to the actor Randolph Scott, of all people. One of the lesser-known series that jumped on the 60s jetpack are the novels by James Dark featuring secret agent Mark Hood. They are, in a way, the perfect barometers to measure the changes in Bond films and spy movies in general. They start off relatively grounded, but after You Only Live Twice, it's all end-of-the-world scenarios with Chinese warlords and secret organizations playing with outer space hardware like missiles and laser beams. And I read all of them. But it was You Only Live Twice that really said, anything goes. And this was also reflected in the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic books by Marvel. But by the time of You Only Live Twice, and most importantly, the arrival of artist Jim Steranko, the storylines and artwork took on a more science fiction aspect. It all started when I saw that now famous Times Square billboard that featured the movie's promotional artwork by Frank McCarthy and Robert McGuinness. I stood there for 15 minutes completely mesmerized by the artwork, especially by that one painting that had Bond standing horizontally on the rim of a crater that housed a rocket with a communist red star on the side, while hundreds of guys were climbing down ropes into the crater itself. It looked like some sort of science fiction Guns N' Navarone mashup, and it completely hotwired my 14-year-old brain. I became obsessed with that painting and the possibilities it foretold. It was June 1967, and my mom gave me $5 graduation money, and I jumped on the D train and rushed downtown to see the movie at the Victoria Theater, which was one of two theaters right under that same giant billboard. And for me, this movie was all about design. Not just Ken Adams' volcano set, but all the other sets, from Tiger Tanaka's underground headquarters to Osato's penthouse office, and combined with Freddie Young's cinematography, the entire film was a visual knockout. John Barry's score for this film has long since become iconic, and I listened to it repeatedly back in the summer of '67 as I dreamt about writing a screenplay based on Isaac Asimov's Pebble in the Sky. Well, I never did write that script, and it's been years since I listened to the film score. But the melody remains. I was so consumed by this movie that I could not stop talking about it. And that brings us to the real reason why I'm talking about this movie again. Both my cousin Anthony and my brother Eddie totally shut me down. They would not let me talk about this movie. Even after they had both seen the movie on their own, they still would not let me talk about it. And both had different reasons for doing so. Anthony was pissed off because I didn't call him up and tell him I was going to see the movie. That was deliberate. Guys are competitive, and I'm cool with that. And Anthony and I were very tight. Hell, we even learned to drink in bars together. But lately, he had been trying to assert his dominance in our friendship, and I was slowly starting to pull away. It would take a few more years and the war in Vietnam to finally end it, although our friendship didn't end because of political reasons. Still, I wouldn't mind reconnecting with Anthony after all these years. A sort of a last goodbye, I guess. So, kid, if you're watching this video, drop me a line on Facebook or something. Tell you what, even better, subscribe. Now, as for my brother Eddie, he had his own reasons. You see, in those days, I was something of a spoiler. My enthusiasm would get the better of me, and I would ruin a good thing right from the start by talking about it endlessly. I first became aware of this when I took my brother Eddie to see The Great Race. I had seen it the day before, and I wanted to share it with him. Except sitting there in the theater, I kept saying, "Oh, wait till you see this scene, and wait till you see that scene," until Eddie finally said, "Will you let me enjoy it for myself?" And I was thunderstruck by my own selfishness. It wasn't about sharing the movie with him. It was about telling him what to enjoy. Unforgivable. And that's why he wouldn't let me talk about You Only Live Twice. Served me right, too. Anyway, that's it. I guess I needed to get that off my chest after all these years. See you around the campus.